Welcome back if you've just joined us. I'm talking to Alan Carr about giving up, stopping totally to smoking. Okay, so how do you do it? Where do you begin?
Well, first stage of people who come to our help to say, right, forget the reasons you've come. You know that. That's why you've come here. That isn't what's causing you smoking. We're first going to look at the other side of the table board, look the cigarette squarely in the face and say, okay, I know there's a lot against it, but why am I doing it? I didn't need them before I started. I worked so hard to get hooked. Millions of people have quit. What makes me believe I'm different, that I have to go through life on this slavery? Now, the beautiful truth is that what actually keeps smokers smoking is not the terrible withdrawal pangs from nicotine. They're hardly noticeable. It is this belief that, as you mentioned now, and you changed it, you said giving up, stopping. That's crucial. Because while we think we're giving up something, we're making a sacrifice. And then even if you've quit for years, you've probably heard these whinging stoppers that stop for 10 years and go for the rest of their lives, still feeling they're missing out beginning to try. Now, we first of all explain why they're giving up nothing, that smoking does nothing for them. And if you say to smokers, why do you smoke? Or it relieves boredom, it helps me concentrate. Now, boredom and concentration are two complete opposites. And then they say, well, I like to smoke during stressful situations, I like to smoke during relaxing situations. Now, again, they are two complete opposites. Now, if I tried to sell a magic pill that would do the complete opposite to what it did an hour earlier, you'd have me locked up as a charlatan. And yet that is what the tobacco industry and smokers themselves claim that smoking does for them. Now, clearly, it's impossible. Now, as I said earlier, the whole thing really is a clever confidence trick. So basically what happens is, before we start smoking again, these cigarettes, and when we take that first cigarette, nicotine goes into the body, and when we put it out, it starts to leave. And it leaves a sort of empty, insecure feeling, almost identical to a hunger for food. We only know that feeling as I want a cigarette. But if you light another cigarette, within the withdrawal period, it immediately replaces nicotine, and you do actually get a more relaxed or a less nervous feeling about what smokers will call a buzz. But the thing you're actually enjoying is trying to get back to the stage you had the whole of your life before you lit the first one. And basically, the pleasure smokers get from smoking is illusory. It's like wearing tight shoes to get the pleasure of taking them off. Now, smokers that dread when they stop are basically two things. One is that they believe they will never enjoy a meal again or a social occasion without a cigarette, or they won't be able to enjoy or cope with stress or answer the phone without a cigarette. They also believe that they have to go through a terrible trauma in order to get free. And the last thing they believe is that even if they manage to succeed, they're going to go for the rest of their lives feeling vulnerable, missing out. Now, on our method, the smokers arrive at our clinics in various stages of panic. We first of all do them what you did to me today, relax them, or try to relax them. We then explain the whole mechanics of the trick of nicotine addiction, to explain why not only doesn't it help concentration or relaxing, it actually makes all those things work. So they realise that in fact there is nothing to do about it. We make them realise that not only will they enjoy life just as much, but enjoy social occasions more, and that they'll feel more confident. And I don't mean they'll be physically healthier or more energy. They know that anyway. I mean they'll be more confident. They'll have more courage to cope with stress. We make them realise that not only isn't it difficult to stop smoking, but once you understand it, you can put that last cigarette out, just as I did, and thousands of people that have used my method of found, and actually enjoy the whole process of stopping, enjoyable right to square one, and never the slightest urge to smoke again. The nearest I can describe it, Selina, is if you could imagine the Count of Monte Cristo for 25 years in prison, thinking he could never get free, suddenly finding that he was free. And that was the wonderful thing that happened to me 13 years ago, and I've helped to make it happen to other people since that time.
What did you want to help other people? This is a matter of interest. Why did you, when you stopped yourself, think, well, I've got to help all these others too? You mean to
let me put it this way. I resented society in a way for not giving me the correct facts about smoking years ago. As one of my clients once described it, I regard smoking as a disease that society inflicted on me. And I really resent that in the last 10 years they moved the goalposts. They suddenly made it anti-social and then treated me like a social leper because I still smoke. But really the answer to the question you've just given, if you saw somebody that you loved drowning in a pool, and all you had to do was reach down and pull them out, could you resist doing it? If you saw a stranger in it, could you resist it? And I was lucky enough to discover the method. And the greatest thing that's ever happened to me is you know, I'm a very privileged man. I'm lucky enough to, I hated being a child at Carr, but I love what I do now.
So you talk about a method. You have several stages that you take people through before they come to the realisation that this is not.
It takes 4 hours. I mean, what we're actually doing is removing a lifetime's brainwashing. And what we actually do at the clinics is, as I say, they arrive in various stages of panic. And we gradually, it's like a sausage factory, right? We gradually remove those fears, relax them, process them. So that when they walk out, it's not with an attitude, oh, I'm not allowed to smoke, or I mustn't smoke. It's an attitude, gosh, isn't it lovely? I don't need to smoke anymore.
You've written 2 books. This is, well, you did the second book, The Only Way to Stop Smoking Pains. You've written 3 books altogether, haven't you? One on the weight, which I'll come to later.
The easy way.
The easy way to lose weight. But why did you need to write 2 books about smoking? What was wrong with the first one that you needed to kind of qualify with the second?
Well, one of the sad things that happened when I first started doing this, I imagined a sort of the world consisted of smokers in this field and me converting it into that field, and that once I'd done it, they were like me and would never want to smoke again. So my consternation, after about 2 years, I found that some of the people that found it easy to quit were suddenly going behind me and had started again. And one of the things I say to people, the last thing I say to them, look, you'll come a stage where you feel so confident you won't get hooked again. The danger is you think, well, I can have an old one, and I won't get hooked. The trouble is they do, and often when they do get hooked again, they don't want to stop. They're like youngsters starting out again. They haven't gone sort of deep enough into the pit to want to stop. So that book is designed, and often people that have found my system worked for them the first time, found it easy, and then tried it again, found it would work for them. This is a sort of heavier dose of the reverse drug or the counter brainwashing. It's also designed for people that didn't understand the first book and failed on the first book. It's just to go into the thing in greater detail.
So your success rate is pretty high, isn't it?
It's very, very high.
Yeah. Can you give me a few figures on?
Well, I'm loath to give it. We quote over 90%, but at our clinics we give a money back guarantee. At the Range Park Clinic, which is the original one, for the last 3 years, we've had to return less than 3% of the money. Now, I emphasise that doesn't always mean that there are successes. But usually, the ones that fail, they do the thing we ask them not to do, is when they feel confident, don't try one out. They try it out and they suddenly find they're hooked again. So they don't ask for their money back. They feel it wasn't our fault, it was theirs.
We're going to come on to a different interview later on about dieting, but very briefly, without taking away from this, you use the same technique to apply to people
which
who
means
want to
it's
lose
not
weight.
dieting. Diets don't work, and it's nothing to do with diet. On the weight, it's exactly the same. You actually enjoy doing it, right from square one. I've lost 2 stones using the thing, and again, you feel great about it, and I emphasise that you actually do it not to use weight. You use it just to enjoy life. Yeah.
But do you think you're more of a kind of a confident, kind of steady chap? Whereas most people who smoke and eat too much have got mental anxiety problems, nervous problems, which make them use a cigarette as a real prop. You talked about parties. It goes out, allows them time to think, doesn't it, before they have to speak to someone strange.
I promise you that it's the complete opposite. If you analyse particularly heavy smokers, society tries to make smokers feel as if they're stupid, weak-willed people. And believe me, it takes strong willpower to know it's going to kill you and carry on smoking.
But also, smoking endows you with certain coolness, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's gone now. I think if you watch the mannerisms of smoking, they're always apologising for things. You can't help but feel sorry for smokers now, where it's become antisocial. You see, in the old days, the cigarette was the badge of the tough guy or the sophisticated lady. Now it's just an open declaration of someone that's either failed to quit or is just too frightened even to try.
And yet you go to places like Spain, for example, and you see all these young people smoking.
Well, it's here too. I'm ashamed to say it, but I go jogging in the mornings and you get these beautiful young girls.
So what's the message in their heads? What's going on in their heads?
Well, it's because it's there, you
cool.
see. They're going to try one, and it's so addictive, nicotine. Because it tastes awful, we're convinced we won't get hooked. You're hooked straight away if you smoke the second cigarette. The only reason you're doing it is to try and end the withdrawal pangs of the first one. And the trap is identical today. In fact, it's younger today, because when I was a lad, you couldn't afford to smoke. But youngsters seem to have more money now. They seem to be more mature, if you like, at that age, if that's the correct word.
So briefly, the key to this is making sure that people who come to you want to stop. If they don't want to stop, then
believe
there's
me,
no hope
everybody wants to stop. Every smoker in the world has this tug of war. I mean, just think about it. Before you start smoking, you don't need them. The average 20-a-day smoker now spends over £40,000, risks horrendous diseases, spends half their life, which they don't dawn on them, half their life doing it automatically or wishing they didn't do it. The other half in situations where they're feeling punished because they're not allowed to smoke. I mean, what sort of hobby is it? When you do it, you wish you didn't. But when you can't have one, that they appear so precious. The biggest imbecile on the earth wouldn't censor themselves or choose to become a smoker, let alone intelligent people, and most smokers, they are intelligent people.
The most intelligent people who smoke can therefore stop. Is that
Anybody
that's the
can.
argument?
It's easy to stop once you know how.
Thank you very much. Alan Carr.